You wake up at 2:17 a.m., not because of a noise, not because of a dream, but because your mind decided it was time to remind you of everything you've ever failed at. And you lie there in the dark, eyes open, staring at a ceiling you can't see, feeling something you don't want to name. It's not just sleeplessness, it's that old familiar ache, the one that says you're alone with this. You don't talk about it. During the day, you function, you smile, you answer messages, you handle responsibilities. You act like someone who has it together, but in the middle of the night, when the world goes quiet and there's nothing to distract you, the truth gets loud. You're tired, not just physically, tired in your bones, tired in your thoughts, tired of carrying memories that still sting. You turn on your side, adjust the pillow, pull the blanket up. Maybe you check the clock again, even though you know you shouldn't. 2:23. Your heart beats a little faster, not dramatically, just enough to notice. And suddenly, your mind is wide awake. It replays conversations from 10 years ago. It whispers regrets you thought you buried. It asks questions you can't answer. Did I do enough? Why did they leave? What if I lose everything? As you get older, the night changes. It's not the deep, heavy sleep you once fell into without effort. It's lighter now, fragile, like your body doesn't trust itself to fully let go. And maybe that's the real problem. You don't trust it either. You don't trust the silence. You don't trust the stillness, because stillness means feeling. And feeling means touching all the things you've worked so hard to push away. The disappointment of relationships that faded without closure. The loneliness of being needed by everyone but truly understood by no one. The quiet fear that your best years are behind you. The exhaustion of always being strong. You've been strong for so long. Strong when you were rejected. Strong when someone you loved walked away. Strong when responsibilities piled up and nobody asked if you were okay. You adapted. You endured. You survived. But survival leaves marks, and at 2 a.m., those marks glow. Your mind starts solving problems that don't need solving. It rehearses conversations that will never happen. It scans your body for danger, a tight chest, a racing thought, a random ache that suddenly feels like a threat. Your nervous system is on alert, not because you're broken, but because you've lived, you've loved, you've lost. You've been hurt. And somewhere along the way, your body learned that letting go completely is risky. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, it's not just insomnia. It's unfinished emotion. It's years of responsibility sitting on your shoulders, refusing to clock out. And you lie there thinking the problem is sleep. But the real problem is that you don't feel safe enough to rest. Not fully. You tell yourself, I need to sleep. I have things to do tomorrow. And that pressure alone makes your heart beat faster. Now, it's not just sleeplessness. It's anxiety about sleeplessness. And the more you try to force it, the further it runs. You start bargaining with your body. If I fall asleep in the next 5 minutes, I'll still get 5 hours. You calculate, you negotiate, you turn onto your other side. Nothing. And in that silence, something deeper surfaces. A memory. Maybe it's the face of someone who isn't here anymore. Maybe it's the sound of a door closing years ago. Maybe it's a version of you that feels so distant you barely recognize them. You miss that person, the younger you, the one who could fall asleep without fear, the one who didn't carry this quiet weight. But here's what nobody tells you. The reason you wake up in the middle of the night as you age isn't just biology. Yes, your sleep cycles shift. Yes, hormones change. Yes, your body becomes more sensitive to light and stress. But underneath that is something more human. You wake up because your mind finally has space to speak. All day long, you're distracted. Responsibilities, conversations, news, notifications, noise. At night, it's just you. And you don't always like what comes up. Let me tell you about someone. A man in his early 60s, successful by every visible measure, a stable job, grown children, a house filled with photographs of birthdays and graduations. Every night at 3 a.m., he would wake up. Wide awake, he thought it was age. He thought it was caffeine. He thought it was his mattress. But when he finally stopped fighting it and just lay there without trying to fix it, something surfaced. He felt grief, not fresh grief, old grief, the kind that never got processed because life moved too fast. He realized he had never truly mourned the version of his life that didn't happen, the dreams he postponed, the risks he never took, the words he never said. At 3 a.m., his mind wasn't attacking him. It was asking to be heard. And when he stopped panicking about sleep and instead placed a hand on his chest and whispered, "It's okay," something changed. Not instantly, but gradually. His body softened because the middle of the night isn't your enemy. It's your nervous system asking, Are we safe? As you age, your sleep becomes lighter because your system becomes more vigilant. You've experienced more loss, more unpredictability, more moments where life surprised you in painful ways. Your body remembers. So when you wake up at 2 a.m., the goal isn't to force yourself unconscious. The goal is to create safety quickly. And safety doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. Right now, when you wake up and your thoughts start racing, you probably do one of three things. You try to fix the thoughts, you try to suppress the thoughts, or you get angry at yourself for having them. All three send one message to your brain. Something is wrong, and your brain responds by staying awake. But what if instead you did something radically different? What if you treated that moment like you would treat a scared child? Not with frustration, with reassurance. You wake up, your heart is beating, your mind is active. Instead of turning over and sighing in defeat, you place your hand gently on your chest. You breathe in slowly, not in a dramatic, forced way, just gently. And you say quietly, maybe even silently, I'm here. Because what your body needs isn't sleep first. It needs safety. And safety is a feeling. When you acknowledge your own fear without judgment, your nervous system begins to settle. It's subtle. Your jaw unclenches, your shoulders drop, your breathing deepens by half an inch. You're not fighting anymore. You're allowing. There is a psychological truth most people never learn. You cannot rest while you are at war with yourself. If your inner voice is harsh, critical, impatient, your body will stay alert. It will prepare for danger, even if that danger is just your own thoughts. But when your inner voice becomes calm and steady, your body follows. This is why quickly falling back asleep in the middle of the night has less to do with technique and more to do with relationship. Your relationship with your own mind. You don't need complex rituals. You don't need to solve your life at 2 a.m. You need to send one clear signal. We're okay right now. Even if your life isn't perfect, even if problems exist, even if tomorrow is uncertain, right now, in this bed, in this dark room, you are safe. And when you say that, when you truly mean it, your body listens. The man I told you about started doing something simple. When he woke up, instead of reaching for his phone or turning on a light, he would imagine himself sitting beside his younger self, the version of him who was overwhelmed, trying to prove his worth. He would say, "You did enough." And sometimes he would cry, quietly, in the dark. Not dramatic sobs, just tears that finally had permission to exist. And afterward, sleep would come, not because he forced it, but because the tension released. You see, aging doesn't just change your body, it brings everything unresolved closer to the surface. You start reflecting more, measuring your life, wondering about time, and that can create a quiet, constant pressure, a sense that you're running out of chances. That pressure shows up at night. But here's the turning point. What if waking up isn't proof that you're broken? What if it's proof that your body trusts you enough to process what it couldn't before? What if those 2 a.m. awakenings are invitations, not attacks, to forgive yourself, to stop carrying everything alone? The fastest way back to sleep is not resistance. It's compassion. When you wake up tonight, and you might, don't brace yourself. Don't think, here we go again. Instead, think, this is a moment to be gentle. Slow your breathing. Lengthen your exhale slight. Why longer than your inhale? Not dramatically. Just enough to signal calm. Let your tongue rest at the bottom of your mouth. Unclench your teeth. Place one hand on your chest or stomach. Feel the warmth of your own body and say, nothing is required of me right now. Not perfection, not answers. Just rest. Even if you're awake. Here's another truth. You don't actually need to fall asleep instantly to survive tomorrow. Your fear of being tired often keeps you more awake than the tiredness itself. When you remove the pressure, the urgency fades. And when urgency fades, your nervous system powers down. You are not failing because you wake up at night. You are human. You have lived long enough to gather memories, to accumulate meaning, to carry invisible scars. Of course, your mind stirs in the quiet, but you don't have to wrestle it. You can sit beside it like you would sit beside someone you love who is struggling. You wouldn't yell at them to calm down. You would stay. Stay with yourself. Not how do I force sleep, but how do I make myself feel safe enough to let go? Because sleep is letting go. And letting go requires trust. Trust that the world won't collapse if you close your eyes. Trust that you are allowed to rest, even if everything isn't finished. Trust that you are still worthy, even in stillness. You've spent years proving your value through action. Now your body is asking you to find value in being. That's uncomfortable, especially if you were raised to believe rest is laziness or vulnerability is weakness. But your body doesn't care about those beliefs. It cares about safety. So tonight, when you wake up in the dark, I don't want you to panic. I want you to remember this moment. You are not alone in that bed. You are with yourself. And you can be kind. Quickly falling back asleep is not about tricking your brain. It's about changing the tone of your inner voice from critical to calm, from urgent to steady, from fearful to reassuring. That shift can happen in seconds. Right now, even as you read this, notice your breathing. Notice your shoulders. Notice if you're bracing for something and soften. That softening is the doorway because the middle of the night is honest. It strips away the masks, the roles, the performance, and it leaves you with the truth. You want to feel valued. You want to feel enough. You want to feel safe in your own skin. Sleep returns when you stop trying to earn it, when you allow yourself to be held by the quiet instead of threatened by it. You have carried so much for so long. You have shown up for others even when you were empty. You have survived things no one applauded you for. And in the darkness, when your eyes open and the clock glows, I want you to hear this clearly. You are allowed to rest. Not because everything is solved, but because you are human. So tonight, if you wake up at 2:17 a.m., don't see it as a battle. See it as a pause, a breath, a moment where you choose gentleness over fear. Place your hand on your chest, whisper, I am safe, and let your body decide when it's ready. Sleep will come. Not because you chased it, but because you finally stopped running from yourself. And even if it takes time, even if some nights are longer than others, remember this. The goal is not perfect sleep. The goal is a peaceful relationship with the one person who has been with you through every rejection, every loss, every lonely season. You. Be the voice that soothes you. Be the presence that stays. Because when you do, the dark stops feeling like an enemy. It becomes a place where you are held. And from that place,